Have you ever heard of Nathan and the silver plates? Have you ever heard of Nathan and the silver Bible? Nathan is a person that we don't know much about. He's disappeared. We don't know his last name. We don't know if he's alive or deceased. But we know that he was born about this 1966. We don't know where he was born, even what country. But we know that about 14 years later, in 1979, he lived in Jerusalem. We know that because he was a volunteer on an archaeological excavation. You see, Dr. Gabriel Barclay from the Bar Ilan University in Tel Aviv came to Jerusalem and had the rights and authority to begin a dig. This young teenager named Nathan was one of the volunteers, and this is what he used. And if you've never seen one, they're very heavy, and this side is a normal hammer, and this other end is a very sharpened point. And the idea is you could hammer the rock, and if you wanted to break into the rock, you could use this end. And this is what's used by rock hounds and geologists and archaeologists. Later, Dr. Barclay said that he always remembered Nathan because he'd remember a tug on his shirt from the back, tugging to get his attention because Nathan would want something or other and would interrupt Dr. Barclay and his important work. Well, one day he was at work in Cave 25, Room 24. He was in there just hammering away on some rock on the floor, and all of a sudden, crash. He hit the floor so hard with this, they thought the floor was just on top of the ground. But as he hit it, it broke through, and a hole opened up that he could see into, and he was very excited about that. So he went to his leader, and the leader went to Dr. Barclay and saying, "Hey, young Nathan has broken through, done some damage there, and broke through a hole in this floor." So Dr. Barclay and the others gathered together at that spot and, of course, looked into the hole. And it was the discovery of a lifetime, or many times. What he had broken into was a bone repository where the bodies had been laid, and there were hundreds of artifacts along with the bones in that room. And it took a very long time to sift through everything that was there. Something they found were two odd-looking items together. And they went to the lab, storage, and eventually for examination. It wasn't for 3 years that it was finally opened up, and it was discovered, but they were two separate metal plates rolled up as scrolls. And so it took a great deal of time and a lot of labor to fully unwrap them, unroll them, and to see the full plaques. Well, what were they? They were silver plaques, silver scrolls, and they were the greatest archaeological evidence of the antiquity of the Old Testament that has ever been discovered. They contain text of the Bible, text from Numbers chapter 6. The Lord bless thee and keep thee. The Lord maketh his face shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. The Lord lift up his countenance upon thee and give thee peace. Now, I want to tell you first why that strikes me as so beautiful. When I was a baby, In 1938, I was taken by my mother to the Methodist church in our city, and I was christened or baptized. And for those first years into my teenage years, I was a member of the Methodist church. And I loved my church, and I loved my pastor, Reverend Sanders. He was from Scotland, and he had a deep Scottish brogue, and I loved to hear him preach and teach. And every Sunday after Sunday, at about 11 o'clock, at the end of the services, he would say this: "Let he that hath ears to hear the word of the Lord." Now that was the summary conclusion to the remarks that he had made from the scriptures and from himself. And then he said, "The Lord bless thee and keep thee," and gave that passage from the silver plates, from the writings of Moses, in conclusion to his sermon. Very important that passage was given by the Lord, Jehovah, to Moses for him to give to Aaron, his brother, who was the head priest of the Aaronic priesthood. And the Lord told them to give that to the priest, and they were on a regular basis to bless Israel with this Aaronic priesthood blessing, "The Lord bless thee and keep thee." And when I remember back, Reverend Sanders standing in the pulpit with his long robes and giving that blessing, it stirs my soul. Now, what I mention that to you for is to point out it wasn't on a scroll that Nathan uncovered it. It wasn't on papyrus. It was on precious metal, even silver. In 1933, archaeologists were at another excavation, and that was in Persepolis, where King Darius lived. Now, he's mentioned repeatedly in the Old Testament. He was at the time of Daniel. Well, in excavating a government site, excavation uncovered a stone box, beautiful box, and inside were the plates of Darius. The plates were of silver, and the top plate was of gold. The plates of Darius, golden plates. I've read those plates, the translation of them, and I marveled. I've never heard anyone mention this, but it struck me, wow! The Book of Mormon starts out, Nephi, I Nephi. The plates of Darius starts out, I Darius, or Darius as it's translated. First thing, Nephi, Darius. I won't go through, but there's 5 different points that are the same in Nephi's beginning statement and in Darius's beginning statement. And I thought, when I read the Book of Mormon, that was unique to me. I'd never read a book that uses those 5 points in introducing himself. And then I read Darius, and I think, that's the same. Wow. Was there any chance that that was the fashion or style in 600 BC? Because the plates of Darius are dated to that time. And by the way, Nathan's silver plates, when were they dated? To that exact period. In fact, some scholars have insisted that it was very, very close to 587 or 588 BC, and that's the exact time that Jerusalem was destroyed, the temple then was destroyed, and the diaspora extended Israel. Israelites were carried to Babylon, Lehi to America, and then Mulek and his group to America. Amazing thing. How did Joseph Smith know that? In the Book of Mormon, a large part of it is from the records called the brass plates of Laban. And the brass plates of Laban were in Jerusalem, and of course were obtained by Nephi after a lot of struggling from Laban. If you study and look up in the Hebrew, brass, bronze, copper, they're the same word. So what we translate today in the Bible as brass or bronze is copper. Now, in modern metallurgy, we know that brass is a copper as an alloy with about 10 or 12% zinc, and bronze is another alloy with about 1 to 1.2% other metal in it. But in the Hebrew, the ancient Hebrew at that time, it was all the same thing. About 1946, the first discoveries were made in Cave 1. The great discoveries were the Dead Sea Scrolls, and they amounted to hundreds of scrolls, and it took over a decade. And they may still yet find some more scrolls in those Dead Sea caves. But in 1952, a particular scroll discovered in one of those caves is written on copper plate, and it's a long scroll. Isn't that interesting? When Lehi and Nephi and the family left Jerusalem, they took with them the peculiar and very special copper or brass plates. In ancient times, we know from the Dead Sea Scrolls that there were copper or brass or bronze plates in Jerusalem that were associated with the scrolls of the Scripture. Joseph used, we think, a long pole to get into the stone box and into that stone room. Nathan used this. Wouldn't it be exciting to find that he is still alive? He'd be 58 or so, I guess. It'd be wonderful to find him. And I wonder if he knows, if he's alive, what he discovered and how important it is to Christianity and to Judaism that he found, or at least he opened the room for the discovery of the oldest text of the Bible in existence. But how did Joseph know that? I didn't know that, but how did he know that precious metals would be used? One last thing. The Voyager 10 and 11, spaceships that were sent out never to return back, but sent out really looking for some life somewhere. Before they were sent, it was suddenly realized and decided, oh my gosh, we've got to have something in there about humanity, about life on the earth. And so they very quickly put together a very edited history of civilization, of humanity. And they wanted it in there so that if any other intelligence out in outer space somewhere would get that ship, would be able to have that and figure out the reading and get intelligence from us. Guess what they put it on? They put it on gold plates. Well, plates are plated gold. And those two plates carry the history of mankind to the universe. In a way, like the Book of Mormon on gold plates, carries the message of Israel and America to the whole world. And I know it's true. Thank you.